kept the flower that you gave me, pressed it gently in a book. It was fragile when you handed it, but I never took a look. I believe that if I held it close enough against my chest, it would bloom again in springtimes. It's like all the things we left, but the petals turned to crystal in the coldness of your tone, and the warmth we tried to nurture froze the moment you were gone. And I tried to keep it living, try to guard it from the gloom, but you can't revive a heartbeat in a crystal made bloom. Crystal bloom, growing in a frozen room. Every petal holds a heartbreak from the love that died soon. And I'm staring at the beauty of a flower built from doom. All the softness turned to silence in my crystal bloom. Crystal bloom. I remember when you planted seeds of hope inside my hands, how you swore that we were growing into something that withstands. But you watered me with distance, left me reaching for the light, and the garden that we promised never made it through the night. Now the petals glow like glasswork on the moonlight's icy gleam, holding truths you never told me in the spaces in between. And I try to keep the feeling, try to save what couldn't bloom, only learn that you can't warm up what the winter turned to gloom. Crystal bloom, growing in a frozen room. Every petal holds a heartbreak from the love that died soon. And I'm staring at the beauty of a flower built from doom. All the softness turned to silence in my crystal bloom. Maybe love was just a season that we handled far too fast. Maybe hearts weren't meant to blossom in a frost that wouldn't pass. And the garden that we tended with our shaking fragile hands shattered gently into gemstones in the cold we didn't plan. Now I hold what's left of something that can never grow again. But the crystal has a story of the ways you caused the pain. Crystal bloom, still I rise from all the gloom. Every fraction tells a lesson in the winter of our room. And I'm leaving all the heartache where your shadow used to loom, finding strength inside the shimmer of my crystal bloom. So I place it by the window where the first light starts to glow, letting morning turn the aching into something new to grow. From the beauty born of heartbreak, I became my crystal bloom. The petals on the floorboards still remember how we tried, how we held a fragile moment till it crumbled deep inside. Every promise that you whispered felt like sunlight in my hands, but the warmth couldn't take another blow. Shattered petals paint the picture of the love we couldn't grow. And I gathered every piece of us, though the cracks were getting clear. Some things break beyond the saving when the winter's drawing near. Shattered petals on the ground, every color fading down. All the softness that we nurtured couldn't survive the final sound. And I'm kneeling in the ruins of the love I thought I'd found, watching beauty fall in pieces. All these shattered petals on the ground. I can still recall the moment when your eyes began to dim, how the distance grew between us in a room that felt too thin. You were pulling from the inside, breaking slowly at the seams, and the bloom that we were holding turned to glass inside my dreams. Now I walk around the wreckage of the places we once cared. All the petals on the carpet show the way we couldn't bear. And I gather what is left now, though the ache is sinking in. Some things fall apart so softly you don't notice where they thin. Shattered petals on the ground, every color fading down. All the softness that we nurtured couldn't survive the final sound. And I'm kneeling in the ruins of the love I thought I'd found, watching beauty fall in pieces. All these shattered petals on the ground. Maybe love was just too fragile for the storms we couldn't see. Maybe we mistook the breaking for a chance to set us free. But the truth is in the fragments of the promises we made, in the pieces of a future that we both let slip and fade. And I'm learning to stop bleeding for a bloom that couldn't stay, letting petals turn to lessons in the garden swept away. Shattered petals on the ground, but I'm rising from the sound. Every fracture forms a story of the strength I finally found. And I'm stepping from the ruins, leaving heartbreak unbound, walking forward through the silence, past these shattered petals on the ground. And I sweep the last of heartache from the corners of the room, knowing some blooms break to teach you that you still have space to bloom. I place my heart into your palms, hoping love would make it glow. but your fingers felt like winter and the cold began to grow. Every promise that you whispered should've warmed me like the sun, but your touch was turning fragile long before we came undone. And the heartbeat I trusted slowly quieted its dance as the warmth inside my chest froze in your unprepared hands. I kept waiting for the fire, something real to take a stand, but some hearts were never meant to hold what they don't understand. Frozen in your hands, I became what love demands. All the softness turned to silence when you failed to take a stand, and the warmth that I kept giving never melted your commands. Now my heart is just a memory you left, frozen in your hands, frozen in your hands. Maybe you held me like a snowflake, beautiful but doomed to fall. Every moment felt unstable, like you never felt it all. I kept melting into heartache, trying just to meet your eyes, but you never saw the breaking till you heard the final cries. And the love I tried to salvage slipped like water through your plans, while the cold became the story of my heart inside your hands. And you blame the changing seasons for the things you couldn't keep, but it wasn't winter's fault that you let promises fall asleep. Frozen in your hands, I became what love demands. All the softness turned to silence when you failed to take a stand, and the warmth that I kept giving never melted your commands. Now my heart is just a memory you left, frozen in your hands. Maybe love was never solid, maybe it was made of glass, fragile in the way we held it, never built for storms to pass. And I tried to keep it breathing when you wouldn't even try. I was fighting every snowstorm just to keep our fire alive, but I'm learning from the breaking, from the cold I didn't choose. You can't warm a heart that's frozen by the ones who taught it bruised. Frozen in your hands, I am done with your demands. Every crack became a warning of the lie my heart withstands, and the fire I keep within me will not fade by your commands. I'm reclaiming every heartbeat you left, frozen in your hands. So I left my heart from winter where you failed to understand, letting warmth return in places that you froze within your hands. I walked into the memories like a garden made of glass, where the flowers we once planted stood in, fragments of the past. Every stem was frozen mid-bloom, every petal caught in time, like a fragile kind of heartbreak set in silent, perfect rhyme. And the pathways held our laughter in a stillness sharp and thin, while the glass beneath my footsteps cracked like every bit been. It's a world we built together, full of hopes we couldn't keep. Now I wander through the echoes where the winter made them sleep. roses made of crystal, thorns that sparkled in the light. Dandelions turned to diamonds in the middle of the night. All the beauty felt unnatural, all the warmth felt miles away. 'Cause a garden shouldn't glitter when the sun forgets to stay. And I reached to touch a lily, but it splintered in my palm, leaving frost against my skin where you once held me in your calm. In the silence of the branches sang of things we used to be, echoes locked in frozen petals of a dream you couldn't see. In this glass garden, where every dream is hardened, I can see the way our love froze, and it's half forgotten, and the pieces shine like warnings of the cold we left unguarded. Every memory stands fragile in this shattered glass garden. Maybe love became too fragile, maybe we became too scared, trying not to break the pieces till we lost what's truly there. And the glass reflects the moments that we tried to bloom in vain, all the roots we left untended, drowned in an unforeseen rain. And I'm standing in the wreckage of a beauty we once claimed, seeing clearly through the fractures how our garden stayed unnamed. In this glass garden, I am finally unburdened. All the frozen petals teach me how my heart became uncertain. But I'm stepping from the glitter that our silence made, disheartened, leaving heartbreak in the shimmer of this shattered glass And the cold wind sweeps the fragments as I turn to walk away, letting sunlight melt the edges of the dream we couldn't stay. This glass garden stays behind me, but I will grow another day. There were corners in your heart where I could never plant a seed, places covered up in shadows where my love could never breathe. You would smile but stay so distant, like a ghost behind your eyes. And I learned to live in spaces filled with quiet, fragile lies. Every time I tried to reach you, you were colder than you seemed. A garden full of empty soil where futures couldn't dream. And I watered every moment, even when the truth said no. Trying hard to bloom a story where the flowers couldn't grow, where the Every promise felt like rainfall till it vanished in the ground. And the soil beneath your silence never let my roots stay bound. You were sunlight on the surface, but a winter underneath. And I tried to warm the coldness with a heart that couldn't breathe. I kept searching for a meadow in the distance of your soul, but the fields stay cracked and empty where my dreams fell through the hole. And I begged the sky for answers when the truth began to show. You can't grow a loving garden where the heart stays locked in snow, where the flowers couldn't grow. I kept holding on too slow, letting hope in barren spaces where your heart refused to show. And I learned the painful lesson of the places love won't go, blooming blindly in the darkness where the flowers couldn't grow. Maybe I was meant for sunlight, meant for warmth you couldn't give. Trying hard to grow a forest in a place you wouldn't live. And the truth blooms slow and heavy when you're standing all alone. Some hearts never learn to open even when they call you home. Now I'm walking from the shadows where our fragile roots fell through, finding fields where love grows stronger, far away from losing you, where the flowers couldn't grow. I'm no longer sinking low, I'm reclaiming all the pieces of the heart you didn't show. And I'm learning how to flourish in the light I didn't know, leaving all the wilted memories where the flowers couldn't grow. And the air feels warm and gently as I turn and let you go, walking toward a brighter garden where my heart can finally grow. I left the last bouquet behind at the corner of our street. Every petal told a secret of the love we couldn't keep. There were footprints in the rainfall where we used to walk as two. Now the pavement holds the pieces of a heart I gave to you. And the colors bleed to grayscale in the water running thin, like the memories we painted are now fading from my skin. And I stepped into the silence where your shadow used to stand, letting raindrops wash the places that I was gold as in plan. Petals on the pavement, scattered where the moments went. All the sweetness turned to footprints of a love we couldn't live. And I'm walking from the heartache where the colors came and went, leaving pieces of our story like the petals on the pavement. I remember how you held me when the nights were warm and kind, but the warmth turned into frostbite in the corners of your mind. Every flower you once gave me lost its fragrance in the end. 'Cause the love behind the gesture was a lie you couldn't bend. Now the street lights blur with teardrops as I watch the petals fall, realizing beauty's fragile when it's never loved at all. And I trace the shape of letting go with trembling open hands, taking steps away from heartache in the softest way I can. Petals on the pavement, scattered where the moments went. All the sweetness turned to footprints of a love we couldn't mend. And I'm walking from the heartache where the colors came and went, leaving pieces of our story like the petals on the pavement. Maybe love breaks in the petals when it's ready to be gone, when the rain becomes the witness to a heart that's moving on, and the street becomes a canvas for the things we didn't say, all the blooms I couldn't rescue. Let the raindrops take away, and I breathe beneath the lamplight while the storm begins to slow, feeling lighter with each petal that the wind begins to blow. Petals on the pavement, now I see what they have meant. They're the pieces of a story that I finally represent. And I'm walking toward tomorrow where my heart won't stay cement, leaving love in scattered colors like the petals on the pavement. And I watch them drift behind me as I reach the street's far end, knowing heartbreak starts its healing where the petals stop pretending. I thought the winter killed me when you left without a trace. Every heartbeat felt like frostbite in the hollows of my space. All the gardens we had planted turned to silence overnight, and the flowers that I watered lost their color, lost their light. But I felt a quiet stirring deep below where grief can go, something living barely breathing like the roots beneath the snow. I didn't know that I was growing even when I couldn't see. Sometimes healing starts in darkness where the light is meant to be. Roots beneath the snow where the broken pieces go. Even in the darkest season, something finds a way to go. And I'm learning from the quiet what the winter couldn't show. There is life inside the shadows like the roots beneath the snow. Roots beneath the snow. Every tear became a raindrop, watering the pain below, and the heartbreak made a soil where the future starts to grow. I kept searching for the sunlight when I should have looked within. There were seeds of something stronger buried underneath my skin, and the cold that once felt endless now feels like a stepping stone to the voice I lost in heartbreak, to the strength I didn't know. 'Cause the thaw begins in silence, in the places pain won't show, where the heart begins its healing like the roots beneath the snow. Roots beneath the snow. beneath the snow. Because of roots beneath the snow. I remember how I waited for a warmth you couldn't give, how I bent myself to reach you just to teach my heart to live. Every night became a battle just to feel you by my side, but you drifted like a snowstorm. Love you couldn't hide, and the petals of my spirit started falling one by one in a winter built from silence, where our story came undone. I kept hoping you would save me from the cold you made unfold, but my heart began its wilting when your touch stayed distant cold. Wilted in the cold, where the love turned harsh and old. Every color slowly faded, story left untold, and I withered just to keep you, though the truth was hard and bold. I was dying just to love you, till I wilted in the cold. You were winter dressed as summer, soft in words but sharp inside, and I melted trying to reach you in the spaces where you'd hide. Every heartbeat felt like splinters, every promise felt like frost, and the garden that I tended was a battle that I lost. I kept whispering forgiveness just to keep the pain controlled, but the truth was I was fading, and as I wilted in the cold, and your silence was the soil where my heartbreak was foretold. Love can't flourish in a winter built from distance uncontrolled. Wilted in the cold, where the love turned harsh and old. Every color slowly faded in a story left untold, and I withered just to keep you, though the truth was hard and bold. I was dying just to love you, till I wilted in the dark. Maybe I was meant for sunlight, meant for warmth you never had. Maybe love becomes a burn when it turns from good to bad, and I see my world is breaking in the parts I didn't show. How I bent until I shattered just to make you never go. But I'm rising from the frostbite, from the damage uncontrolled, learning who I am without you after wilted in the cold. Wilted in the cold, but I'm learning to unfold. Every fracture finds its healing in the truth I now uphold, and for walking toward the sunrise. nights are cold, and the morning glow feels brighter as the pain begins to slow. I survived the darkest season, where my heart wilted in the cold. The sunlight on my shoulder for the first time since you left, and it warmed the parts of me that you once tried to keep repressed. There were petals crushed and silent from the storms you put me through, but a tiny spark was rising, something soft and something true. And the morning felt like breathing in a way I never knew, 'cause the air is finally honest. Now I'm blooming without you. I didn't think I'd see the season where my heart began anew, but the thought feels like a promise that my strength is breaking through. Blooming without you, in a color breaking through. Every petal finds its courage in a world without your bruise, and I'm learning how to flourish in a light you never knew, finding beauty in the rising as I'm blooming without you. I thought losing you would end me, but it only cleared the ground for the roots I'd been protecting just to slowly come around. You were winter on my heartstrings, all your cold was all I knew, but the warmth I kept inside me wasn't something born from you. Now the fields that once were empty hold a greener, brighter view. I can feel the quiet growing as I'm blooming without you. And the sunlight hits the places where your shadow used to stay, turning scars into a garden in a warm and gentle way. Blooming without you, in a color breaking through. Every petal finds its courage in a world without your bruise, and I'm learning how to flourish in a light you never knew, finding beauty in the rising as I'm blooming without you. Maybe heartbreak shapes the petals in the ways we never see. Maybe silence grows the courage we were scared to let just be. And the parts of me wilted, now are reaching for the sky, with the strength you didn't water, with the dream you let run dry. And I don't need your approval or the warmth you never gave. I am growing from the soil of the love I chose to save. Blooming without you, and the world feels bright and true. Every fracture turns to color in the garden I've come through, and I'm learning how to paths now, blooming without you. There are places in my mind where I still feel the ache of you, where the moments hurt like splinters from a love that fell untrue. Almost every maybe, every hope I held so tight, left a sting that never softened, even when you left my side. And the shadows of you uniting gone, can't see, leaving thorns along the edges. Aren't you scarring me? I keep trying not to touch them, but they bloom so endlessly. All the pieces of a heartache are the thorns in my memory. Thorns in my memory, still they pierce so quietly. Even though I'm moving forward, they still cut inside of me. And I'm learning not to fear them, let the pain just let me be. But I feel you in the aching like the thorns in my memory. My memory. I can see the way you hurt me in the softness of your smile. How you held me like a secret that you'd only keep a while. And I tried to make you listen to the breaking in my tone, but you never heard the shatter till you left me on my own. Now the moments that I treasured feel like truths I couldn't see, and they echo through the silence as the thorns inside of me. I've been learning how to hold them till they lose their mastery, but some cuts were made so deeply they stay thorns in memory. Thorns in my memory, still they pierce so quietly. Even though I'm moving forward, they still cut inside of me. I'm learning not to fear them, let the pain just let me be. But I feel you in the aching like the thorns of my memory. Maybe healing isn't painless, maybe scars don't need to fade. Maybe some pain stays to teach us why a stronger heart is made. And I trace the broken edges like a map of where I've grown. Every thorn that ever hurt me shows the strength I've always known. And I know I'll bloom around them, let the heartache set me free. Turn the sharpness into wisdom from the thorns in memory. Thorns in my memory, but they're losing hold on me. Even though they still can hurt me, they don't shape who I will be. And I'm breathing through the aching, letting pain turn into plea. I'll keep growing past the shadows of these thorns in my memory. The past becomes a garden where the truth begins to see. I am blooming through the heartache from the thorns in memory. Thorns in memory. You brought me roses in December, said their bloom would never fade, but the petals felt like frostbite in the promises you made. Every bouquet held a silence you were scared to let me hear, and I cried into the shadows. Oh, a gesture meant to heal, but the kindness felt so empty when your heart refused to feel. Every petal dripped with memories of the warmth we couldn't share, and I watered them with heartache till the roots dissolved in air. I kept hoping they'd go deeper, blooming into a love sincere, but they shattered in the silence as my warm tears disappeared. And I learned that pretty gestures can't replace a love sincere. Now when roses stay so frozen in a heart that won't draw near, cold roses, warm tears, all the beauty disappears. Every promise that you offered fell to silence through the years, and I held them like a lifeline through the heartbreak, through the fears. But the truth was in the frostbite of those cold roses, warm tears. Cold roses, warm tears. Maybe love was never flowers, now the petals never bloom. Maybe it was in the effort, not the gifts that filled the room. And I see the way you hurt me in the sweetness that you showed, a bouquet of contradictions in the path that never flowed. Now I know the truth of heartache in the memories I've kept near. Beauty doesn't equal warmth when all you give is frozen fear. Cold roses, warm tears, but I'm shedding what appears. Every petal holds a memory of the love that disappeared, and I'm walking from the frostbite with a heart that reappears, leaving behind the bitter silence of those cold roses, warm tears. Yes. Oh, those cold roses, warm tears. And I lay the last rose gently where the sunlight starts to peer, letting warmth replace the sadness of those cold roses, warm tears. There was something in the way I bent myself to make you stay, how my heart began to tremble every time you pulled away, like a flower in a windstorm, trying hard to stay upright. I kept leaning into heartache till I lost my will to fight. And the stem inside my ribcage held a weight too steep to chart. Now I see the painful damage in my broken stem heart. I kept pretending I was thriving even as I fell apart. But you can't protect a flower with a cracking, fragile heart. Broken stem heart, falling slowly in the dark. Every moment bent and twisted till it couldn't hold a spark. And I carried all the bruises that you left like watermark. Now I'm learning how to heal this broken stem heart. Begging one from someone else. the art of protecting what was fragile in my breaking stem heart. Broken stem heart, falling slowly in the dark. Every moment bent and twisted till it couldn't hold the spark. And I carried all the bruises that you left like watermark. Now I'm learning how to heal this broken stem heart. Maybe hearts are meant to shatter just to prove they truly cared. Maybe love should never weaken every time your soul gets scared. And I wish I saw the breaking long before it tore apart. Wish I knew that loving deeply doesn't mean you lose your heart. But I'm stitching up the fractures, letting sunlight do its part, finding strength between the pieces of my broken stem heart. Broken stem heart, but I'm rising from the dark. Every fracture holds a lesson in the ways we fall apart. And I'm blooming through the damage like a quiet work of art, growing stronger from the healing of this broken stem heart. And I leave behind the shadows where the fears and fractures start, knowing I can bloom again with this new stronger stem heart. I stood beneath the Icestone moon, where the world felt still and wide, where the sky looked like a window into everything I tried. Every step I took was quiet, every breath was crystallized, and the memories that lingered felt like stars behind my eyes. There was beauty in the silence, in the frost that filled the air, but the cold reminded softly of the love you couldn't bear. And the moonlight traced the heartaches like a half-forgotten tune, painting shadows of our breaking under that Icestone moon. Under the Icestone moon, where my hope once bloomed too soon. I can hear the truth unspoken in the stillness of the room. Every tear turns into silver, every scar becomes a rune, marking where my heart was broken under the Icestone I watched the frozen branches sway like they whispered a winter song, telling stories of survival after being hurt so long. And the moon hung like a warning of the cold I let you bring, but a spark beneath the frostbite felt like early signs of spring. And I realized in the quiet that the breaking made me Cherry moons don't melt the heartache, but they show us where it lies, in the shadows of our breathing, in the spaces between cries. And I found a piece of courage in the frost upon the stone, knowing I can face the darkness of a life I walk alone. But the cold can't hold me captive, not with dawn approaching soon. There is strength in what I witnessed under that icestone moon, under the icestone moon, where my past became cocoon. I'm learning to surrender all the pain I've carried through, and my heart begins to soften as the night fades into blue, leaving tears of silver shining under the icestone. Leaving tears of shining, knowing daylight's coming. I pulled a memory from my heart, like a petal losing light, when they held the way you kissed me in a warm October night. Then I placed it in the silence where the gentle shadows grow, letting time dissolve the edges of a love I couldn't show. Every memory was fragile, every truth too soft to hold, and I let them fall around me as the autumn nights grew cold. Petal after fragile petal, I released what hurt me so, letting go of every moment in the gentlest way I know. Petal after petal falling, soft and sentimental. Every piece of you I carry becomes light and elemental, and I'm shedding what was heavy, letting old emotions settle, breaking free from all the memories. Petal after petal, after petal. I held another to the light. It was where you said you'd stay, but the promise cracked like glasswork when your warmth just slipped away. So I laid it by the window where the morning starts to rise, letting sunlight melt the coldness frozen deep behind my eyes. There were petals made of heartache, there were petals made of lies. Now I watch them drift like snowfall under wide and open skies, and the way begins to lighten as the truth begins to show. Healing comes in quiet pieces, petal after petal, slow. Petal after petal falling, soft and sentimental. Every piece of you I carried becomes light and elemental, and I'm shedding what was heavy, letting old emotions settle, breaking free from all the memories. Petal after petal, petal after petal. Maybe love becomes a flower, even when it's doomed to fade. Maybe letting go is blooming in a different kind of way. deeper as the last one lets me go. Standing lighter in the quiet, petal after petal slow. I walked back through the gardens where our memories used to bloom, but the flowers felt like shadows dancing softly in the gloom. Every place you once stood laughing held a whisper in the air, like a ghost of something tender still was trying to stay there. And the roses we once planted weren't alive the way they seemed. They were echoes of a future in a past we only dreamed. And the silence wrapped around me like a truth I couldn't host. All the love we tried to grow became a garden full of ghosts. A garden full of ghosts, where the heartache lingers most. Every memory looks alive, but it's the past we tried to boast. Oh, said I'm standing in the ruins of love we held so close. Knowing nothing truly lived here in this garden full of ghosts. You once held me in the sunlight, but the warmth was never real. Just a shadow of affection you were too afraid to feel. And the dreams we told each other broke like frost upon the stems, leaving the spirits of our moments where the light abandoned them. Now the flowers made of memory glow like grief beneath the frost, showing pieces of a promise that we never truly lost. But the truth beneath the surface says our love was diagnosed as a fragile, fleeting echo in a garden full of ghosts. A garden full of ghosts, where the heartache lingers most. Every memory looks alive, but it's the past we tried to boast. Oh, said I'm standing in the ruins of the love we held so close. Knowing nothing truly lives here in this garden full of ghosts. Maybe love becomes a spirit when it loses all its flame. Maybe holding on to heartbreak is a quiet kind of shame. And I see our faded footprints where the dreams refuse to grow. All the echoes of affection in the cold of long ago. But I'm done with chasing shadows, done with breathing what you chose. I'm leaving all the empty blossoms in this was subtle in the morning. Just a silence in your voice, like the warmth you used to offer had no strength, had lost its choice. And the air between our fingers felt like winter passing through, like a frost that kept on growing in the spaces next to you. I could feel the petals calling from the corners of the lies, and I knew without you speaking, it was time we said goodbye. And the truth fell from your quiet words you never tried to hide. I remember how it shattered on the day the garden died. The day the garden died. Every hope we held untied. All the colors turned to shadows in the corners where we tried. And the love we planted deeply couldn't survive the changing tide. I remember how the world broke on the day the garden died. You were standing in the doorway, like a stranger in my home. All the warmth inside your heartbeat had been buried under stones. Every promise wilted softly, like a flower losing light. And the garden we protected turned to ashes overnight. I could see the cracks in sunlight, hear the breaking in your sighs, and I knew we couldn't save it, even if we tried 1,000 tries. And the wind outside was whispering what our hearts had long implied. There was nothing left to cling to on the day the garden died. The day the garden died. Every hope we held untied. All the colors turned to shadows in the corners where we tried. And the love we planted deeply couldn't survive the changing tide. I remember how the world broke on the day the garden Maybe love becomes a season that we hold until it fades. Maybe some hearts lose their rhythm when they try to match charades. And we wanted every moment, hoping something would revive. But you can't breathe life in roses when the roots no longer strive. And I hold the final memory like a truth I can't deny. You were letting go in silence long before I wondered why. The day the garden died, I felt garden died. I trace the frozen petal lines of the memories we made. Every moment caught in silence, like a bloom that couldn't fade. There were echoes in the writing of a love we couldn't keep, words we whispered into midnight that now fall into the deep. On the pages of our story lie the truths we never said. In the petals, in the margins, hold the tears we never shed. I keep reading through the frostwork, though it cuts me every time. All the love we left unspoken in these frozen petal lines. Frozen petal lines, etched in fragile fading signs. Every promise, every heartbreak in these half-forgotten rhymes. And I'm holding what we left here in the shadows of our times. All the remnants of our story in these frozen petal lines. There were chapters full of longing. There were pages filled with doubt, lines that spoke of staying hopeful when our flame was burning out. You were writing me in winter while I painted you in spring, and our seasons never matched up in the words we tried to bring. Now the ink has turned to silver where your promises decline, and the truth feels cold and quiet in these petals left behind. And I breathe into the shadows where our love was misaligned, letting go of every fracture in these frozen petal lines. Frozen petal lines, etched in fragile fading signs. Every promise, every heartbreak in these half-forgotten rhymes. And I'm holding what we left here in the shadows of our times. All the remnants of our story in these frozen petal lines. Maybe love is made of chapters we were scared to truly write, and the pages stay unfinished when two hearts don't hold the light. And the petals freeze in moments where the truth begins to show. We were clinging to a future that we never learned to grow, but the cold cannot erase me, it just comes without shine. I am stronger than the heartbreak in these frozen petal lines. Frozen petal lines, now they fade like ancient signs. All the meanings melt to nothing as the morning sun lies. And I'm stepping from the story where our hearts could not combine, leaving only quiet memories in these frozen petal lines. And I close the final chapter with a comment steady mind, letting winter keep the echoes in these frozen petal lines. You touch my heart like something fragile, like a bloom you didn't trust. And you water me in moments when you needed someone's love. But the sunlight you once offered never stayed for very long, and I wilted in the waiting for a warmth that felt so wrong. I was reaching towards your kindness, trying hard to stay alive, but a flower cannot flourish when it's barely kept alive. And the truth came soft and bitter when the fading finally started. I was just the last flower you once watered, broken hearted. The last flower you watered, but the care was thin and altered. Every drop of love you gave me felt so fragile, felt so faltered, and I bloomed with all my effort while your heart grew cold and bothered. Now I'm learning who I am as the last flower you watered. I remember how your gentleness came in waves you couldn't keep, how you poured yourself in pieces when your loneliness ran deep. But a garden built on sorrow cannot grow into the light, and the bloom you tried to shelter fell to shadow overnight. You were giving me the remnants of a heart that never healed, and I carried all the burden of the love you never willed, 'cause you watered me in moments when your soul felt broken, cornered, but you never stayed to nurture all the roots you left disordered. The last flower you watered, but the care was thin and altered. Every drop of love you gave me felt so fragile, felt so faltered, and I bloomed with all my effort while your heart grew cold and bothered. Now I'm learning who I am as the last flower you watered. Maybe love was never lacking, maybe you just couldn't give more than pieces of a person trying hard just to forgive. And I see now how you held me like a bloom you couldn't claim, too afraid to let me blossom, too confused to feed the flame. But I'm done with starving slowly, and the love that wandered stuttered. I deserve a deeper caring than the drops you briefly uttered. The last flower you watered, but my heart no longer falters. I am finding deeper gardens where my light grows unencumbered, and blooming for the future, where my worth cannot be parted. I'm no longer just a memory. The last flower back to all the moments where your heartbeat used to shine, where the warmth inside your eyes would match the hope I dreamed was mine. But the truth showed through the cracks in every promise that you made. Your affection started fading long before ours ever frayed. In the silence that you gave me was the first clear, honest sign that the place you stopped investing was the place you left behind. I kept trying not to see it, kept the pain from overflowing, but my heart was still in gardens where your love stopped growing. Where your love stopped growing, all the roots began eroding. Every time you held me closely, felt like cold winds barely blowing. And I stayed to keep the daylight on a fire, barely glowing. But I lost myself in places where your love stopped growing. Every compliment grew quieter, every kiss felt short and thin, like you watered all your feelings with a hand that wore too thin. And I begged you for a reason, something warm to bring me through. But the soil beneath your heartache held no room for something new. You were loving me in echoes, fighting shadows you were showing. And I buried all my heartbreak awake. Love stopped growing. Love stopped growing. All the roots began eroding. Every time you held me closely, felt like cold winds barely blowing. And I stayed to keep the daylight on a fire, barely glowing. But I lost myself in places where your love stopped growing. Maybe love can fade to winter when the heart won't let it breathe. Maybe we were chasing summer in a storm we couldn't leave. And I see now the distance came in whispers, soft and slow. How you love me out at night, not a flame you let me know. And I blame myself for planting seeds that needed steady showing. But I watered what was dying. Way love stopped growing. I felt strange without you knowing. Every crack became a doorway to the light that started glowing. And I'm stepping from the shadows. My fragile petals shine, when the colors felt like promise in a world that once was mine. But the warmth began to flicker in the corners of your tone, and the flower we protected started wilting on its own. There was something in your silence, in the truth I never knew, that the love we shared was fading when the bloom first turned to blue. And I tried to paint it brighter, tried to warn what wasn't true, but you can't revive a color once the bloom has turned to blue. When the bloom turned blue, that's when everything I knew began slipping through my fingers like a sky without a hue. And I held on to the dying, trying hard to pull us through, but the garden told a story when the bloom first turned to blue. Bloom first turned to blue. All the nights you felt so distant, were the petals losing glow, and the frost beneath your heartbeat said the thing you'd never show. I kept searching for the sunlight in the cracks of who you'd been, but the color kept on fading from the love I held within. And the truth felt soft and heavy in a shade I never knew, that your heart had left our garden when the bloom had turned to blue. And I whispered to the silence for a sign to guide me through, but the echoes all repeated, let it go. It's turning blue. When the bloom turned blue, that's when I began to lose every dream I held so tightly in the hope we couldn't use. And I fought against the winter, searching for a warmer hue, but no fire could change the moment when the bloom first turned blue. Maybe love becomes a memory when it's colored by the pain. Maybe hearts can't hold a promise when the seasons start to wane. And I learned that letting go is just another bloom that grew in the pieces of the aching, in the softness breaking through. And I see now how the frostbite was the truth you never knew, that our garden lost its meaning when the bloom first turned to blue. When the bloom turned blue, I found something bright and true. Though the color carried heartbreak, it still led me back to you, back to all the gentle lessons that the quiet moments grew. I became the one still blooming when the bloom first turned to blue. So I leave the final petal in the morning silver dew, knowing endings bloom in somebody when the bloom has turned to blue. And I walk into the daylight with a heart reborn.